Start it. Start. Mr. Chairman, I think the Honorable Minister would have done well if he had explained to the House the changes made by the Joint Select Committee in the bill. I think it is the duty of the Minister when important changes are made to come and explain what is the real significance and import of those changes. Anyway, coming to the bill proper, though some important changes are made in many respects, I think that it needs to be improved if the social objective of this bill is taken into consideration. The government has not done well in not incorporating the social objective that had been set forth by Parliament in practice and bringing it into reality in this particular bill. Sir, it is very necessary for us to profit from the experience of highly industrialized and advanced countries. At the same time, we cannot copy the methods that were evolved by those countries. We cannot copy the principles that were evolved in an entirely different context and transplant them here. Trademark is a type of industrial property. The ownership of trademark has developed entirely in a different context in England, in America, in Australia, and other countries. When the capitalist economy was thought to be circumspect, when it was considered that nothing could be done against the ownership of a particular property, these principles were evolved. Here, when we have set before us the social objective of stabilizing a socialist pattern of society, when we have decided to have, besides a heavy industries sector, a cottage industries sector, and a small industries sector, it is perfectly obvious that we cannot transplant those principles and ideas without the necessary modifications. If we look at the bill, it will be perfectly obvious that though the Joint Select Committee has amended it to some extent as far as this important aspect is concerned, it has ignored the fundamental or the basic objective. Let me illustrate my point. Here, as I have just now informed the House, our social objective is to establish a socialist pattern of society, but we also envisage a heavy industry sector, a cottage industry sector, and also a small industry sector. Accordingly, we visualize production to take place not only in the big mills owned either by the state or by the big capitalist, but also in cottage industries and small scale industries. Many attempts were made on behalf of the local industrialists to manufacture matches, but they could not withstand the competition. One of the weapons in the hands of those big monopoly companies is to use the trademark to browbeat these manufacturers and harass them. This is not the only measure to curb these big monopolists, these foreign monopolists. We should see that this particular trademark does not become a weapon in the hands of those big monopolists to browbeat the small industrialists. Sir, that devoted follower of Gandhiji and the present member of the All India Khadi and Village Industries Board, Sri Satish Das Gupta has brought out in his brochure, which I think was circulated to all the members of parliament as to how these big monopolists are endangering the very existence of small industries, and that too, especially of the handmade and cottage industries. So, when it comes to that, no specific effort has been made by the government to see that this particular branch of industry and the products produced by that industry are given due protection. When we brought it to the notice of the ministry that in order to protect these products of the cottage industries and the small scale industries, some specific provision should be introduced in respect of zonal registration. Our request was refused. It has been argued that since the provision has already been made for the limitation of this trademark to a particular territory, no necessity exists for this zonal registration. But if we examine this thing, sir, we can perfectly understand that the registrar has got the power to limit the jurisdiction of a particular registration to a particular territory, but that the small manufacturer does not drive any benefit. So we suggested that some scheme for registering these small scale products should be evolved, and it should be called zonal registration. There are manufacturers who produce for the local area and whose produce is consumed locally. There are many varieties of BDs, there are many varieties of foodstuffs which are locally manufactured and which are also locally consumed. These people are mainly interested in seeing that their trademark is registered and limited to a particular extent. So producers are not interested in an all India circulation or an all India market, but they are mostly interested in their local consumption. Some provision must be made for such people to register their trademarks, limiting their jurisdiction to their particular zones. Then, sir, coming to the question of jurisdiction, it has been stated that the jurisdiction should be extended to the high courts. Mr. Vice Chairman, the Devar Commission has to be consulated for the elaborate report it had written and its approach to the subject of tribal welfare. It is necessary for me to direct the attention of the ministry to the fact that there is a great difference between questions affecting the scheduled castes and the tribes. The case of scheduled tribes is a particular one. They have particular modes of living, they have particular ways and means of carrying on their trade. They have their many dialects. They are particularly separate from the scheduled castes and from the general public. So their problem is not an easy one. It is one of the most difficult problems. Allotting money, laying out schemes is necessary, of course, but the implementation of the schemes is more necessary. They live in hilly areas, they live far away, and I am afraid with the little experience that I have, I can say that very few people take the trouble of going to places which are not easily accessible, and therefore the advantage and comfort that they should drive from those employed to look after them is not what it should be. My submission is that this problem really does not require particular attention, and the first thing on which I wholeheartedly concur with the Commission's report is that there should be separate commissioner for scheduled tribes. As I have said before, the problems of the scheduled castes and those of the tribes are different. The scheduled castes are backward. They have been suffering from a number of disadvantages, but they are very much similar to the backward people of our own country. But these scheduled tribes are very much different. They have their own customs, ways, and manners, and they have their own laws. The greatest difficulty is the dialect. In an area of about 100 kilometers, 10 different dialects are spoken, and one cannot carry on conversation with the other. So a separate commissioner is absolutely essential. Again, a separate department for tribal welfare is also necessary in all the states where a large number of the scheduled tribe people stay. In addition, there should be periodical checking of the work done. What happens is money is not spent, it is left over, and the places are not visited. Periodically checking of these things is necessary because the implementation of schemes is very essential. ये आपको जो कंटेंट बोला गया है 383 और 384 नंबर से बोला गया है 1240 वर्ड है एज पर द बुक। मैं आपको इसकी स्पीड बता देता हूँ एक बार। 105 प्लस स्पीड है। नेक्स्ट डिक्टेशन आप एग्जैक्ट लेस देन 105 के आसपास लिखेंगे। मेरा ऑब्जेक्टिव होगा कि मैं नेक्स्ट डिक्टेशन आपको जो है 90 और 100 के बीच यानी 90 के आसपास लिखाने की कोशिश करता हूँ। नेक्स्ट आपको 80 पर कराऊंगा क्योंकि इससे पहले जो मैं डिक्टेशन आपको कराई थी आपने इस वीडियो पर काफी डिक्टेशन लिख लिया आज, तो आप इसको टाइप कर सकते हो क्योंकि 100 105 लगभग सेम है। जिनका सी ग्रेड का है उस कंटेंट को लेकर टाइप कर सकते हैं। अब नेक्स्ट तो कंटेंट का डिक्टेशन आज दो डिक्टेशन कर लेते हैं, लेट भी काफी हो गया, संडे वैसे है। तो आप क्या करेंगे, आप नेक्स्ट डिक्टेशन 80-85 के टारगेट से लिखेंगे जो मैं आपको बोल रहा हूँ, अभी डिक्टेट कर रहा हूँ। रेडी? जिनको टाइप करना है वो इसको 100 को टारगेट मान के टाइप कर सकते हैं। नेक्स्ट डिक्टेशन आपकी 80 को टारगेट लेके डिक्टेट की जाएगी। Ready? Start it. Start. Sir, the Honorable Minister has said that because this bill is of a complicated nature, he has come forward with this measure to extend the blanket cover that is to be given by another 1 year. Sir, in my opinion, the bill as such is not complicated, but the government have made it more complicated by getting into certain things which, in my opinion, are certainly extraneous for the purpose of this bill. Sir, in the course of 1 year, this bill has come up before this House 3 times. This is the third time that this bill is coming up before the House. The parent bill was introduced in December 2003, and in less than 1 year, two amending bills were being moved before us. Even at the time when the parent bill was moved, it was suggested by several members, both on this side as well as on the other side of the House, that it is safe to enumerate in the bill itself by attaching a schedule to it with specific, clearly provisions as to what would amount to an office of profit and what would not amount to an office of profit. It was then stated by the then honorable mover of the bill that it was not necessary to attach any schedule to the bill, and that the bill by itself as moved was comprehensive enough. Then, sir, certain difficulties were left, and various members of this House as well as of the other House had addressed the Honorable Law Minister, then asking him whether their remaining in a particular committee would amount to an office of profit or not. Probably looking at the numerous letters that had been addressed to the Honorable Law Minister, he was in a dilemma as to what to do. He had come forward with an amending bill to extend the life till the end of December 2004. A committee was constituted to advise the Honorable Law Minister as to which offices would amount to officer of profit and which offices would not amount to offices of profit. Sir, I am told by one or two members who had served in that advisory committee that only during this session they were summoned to meet. I would ask the Honorable Minister, sir, this question. When it was such an important measure, what was the ministry doing from April 2004 till December 2004, expecting to come forward before the House with another amending bill of this nature? Originally, sir, only 4 months time was asked for when the parent bill was moved, and it was stated that within that period of 4 months they would come forward with a comprehensive legislation. Then again they came forward with another amending bill extending the period till December 2004. Now, between April and December, nothing has happened excepting that the advisory committee has been constituted, and it met once only just to recommend for extending the period by another 1 year. Sir, nobody in both the houses would oppose this measure, but they can only criticize the way in which the government is dealing with this measure, the way in which the government is sleeping over the matter, a matter which affects the very life of a member of parliament, not only a member of parliament, but also a member of the state legislature. As the Honorable the Law Minister has pointed out, Article 102 of our Constitution does not define what is an office of profit, except to say that a ministership or a deputy ministership or even a parliamentary secretaryship, and by a later amendment even a whip of the Congress party would not amount to an office of profit. Only a few instances are specified as to which offices would not amount to an office of profit. Then, sir, complications had arisen even when the original bill was moved, introducing statutory committees and advisory committees. What a statutory committee was, or what an advisory committee was not at all defined in the parent bill. So doubts had arisen in the minds of various members as to what would amount to a statutory committee, or what would amount to an advisory committee, or even whether a vice chancellorship of a university to which are attached certain privileges like the appointment of so many persons, and all that was defined as not an office of profit. And the Honorable Law Minister was not able to say that office would amount to an office of profit. What would amount to a statutory committee, or what would amount to an advisory committee? Sir, I have only to point out that an important measure such as this, which affects the very existence of the members of parliament, should have been given a very high priority in the matter of legislation. जो कंटेंट आपको बोला गया है, ये केसी का 95 नंबर है, 80 स्पीड है इसकी, और 820 प्लस वर्ड है आपके. अगर आपने अच्छा लिखा आप इसको टाइप करेंगे. थैंक यू.